The envelope arrived on a rainy Wednesday, sandwiched between a fast food flyer and a bill I'd been avoiding. At first glance, it didn't look like anything important, just one of those heavy, cream-colored legal mailers I usually toss onto, the counter for a later I never get to. But something about the sender's name caught my attention. Gibson and Morris, LLP, Estate Law Division. My breath hitched. That was my grandfather's old lawyer. I hadn't heard from anyone about my grandfather's estate in years. He'd passed away 5 years ago, quietly and without ceremony, just the way he lived. I remembered him as a tall, stern man who preferred the company of trees to people. His land in Pinebrook County was the only thing he ever talked about with any pride. 40, maybe 50 acres of untouched wilderness, inherited from his father and his grandfather before him. A generational plot tucked away behind some hills and a dirt road barely marked on modern maps. I always assumed it had been sold off or taken by the county. He never mentioned leaving it to me. Curious, I opened the envelope, expecting some clerical update or a final tax document. But what I found inside made me sit down at the kitchen table, coffee forgotten and cooling rapidly beside me. It was a letter, official, stamped, and notarized. The words blurred as I read them once, then again more slowly. Dear Mr. Cole Holbrook, as per the last will and testament of Charles W. Holbrook dated June 11, 2017, you are hereby confirmed as the sole heir to parcel R409B in Pinebrook County. This property comprises approximately 52 acres. All taxes and maintenance fees have been paid in full through the Charles W. Holbrook Trust. The land remains legally under your ownership. 52 acres. Mine. No liens. No disputes. A folded property map accompanied the letter. I unfolded it across the table and stared at it, confused. At first, I thought it was a mistake. The satellite image didn't show the forest I remembered from childhood visits. Instead, it showed a sprawling suburban development, rows of identical, beige and gray houses, winding cul-de-sacs, paved roads, driveways, and even a small community park. It looked like a miniature city had taken root in the middle of nowhere. My grandfather's signature and the county seal were clearly stamped on the document, along with a property outline that matched the borders of the development perfectly. Every last one of those cookie-cutter homes sat squarely on my land. I stared at it, jaw slack. How could this happen? I pulled out my phone and typed in Hickory Grove Estates, Pinebrook County. A glossy HOA website popped up with a tagline that made my stomach turn. Luxury living in the heart of the Pines, a community you'll be proud to call home. The homes were selling for $400,000 each. Some had already been resold 2 or 3 times. There were newsletters, community events, even an HOA board listed online. I scrolled further until I saw the name, Karen Whitfield, HOA president. I sat back in my chair, stunned. Someone, or a group of someones, had built an entire neighborhood, on land they didn't own. No one contacted me. No one asked permission, no buyout, no sale, not even a courtesy call. Just theft. Plain and simple. The realization hit hard. I wasn't just the legal owner. I was potentially sitting on millions of dollars worth of occupied land. But more than that, I was furious. They had paved over my grandfather's legacy. They had built dreams on stolen dirt. And now they were going to answer for it. The drive to Pinebrook was surreal. I hadn't been back in over a decade, not since I was a teenager visiting my grandfather during the summer. Back then, the land was raw and wild. Tall pines, narrow trails, the sound of crickets at night so loud it felt like they were inside your ears. But as I approached the county line, the wilderness gave way to pavement, streetlights, and carefully trimmed hedges. Hickory Grove Estates wasn't just a development, it was a transformation, the kind of suburban sprawl that seemed to sprout overnight like mold. Cookie-cutter homes lined the street, all beige and off-white with decorative shutters and flags, waving from porches. Driveways were packed with SUVs and shiny sedans. People were walking dogs on retractable leashes, kids riding scooters, sprinklers ticking away on small, obsessively maintained lawns. I parked on the curb near a sign that read, "Welcome to Hickory Grove Estates, a Pinebrook HOA community. Residents only. It almost made me laugh. I was technically the only real resident here, and yet I felt like an intruder. According to the HOA website, the office was a small building next to the park. I followed a paved footpath until I found it, a tan structure with a navy blue awning and a glass door marked HOA Administration. Inside, it smelled like citrus cleaning spray and fake professionalism. A small desk sat near the entrance with a sign-in sheet, and behind it was a reception counter manned by a woman in her mid-50s. She had platinum blonde hair teased into a helmet, thin-framed glasses perched low on her nose, and an expression like she was already tired of me. Her name tag said, Karen Whitfield, HOA President. "Can I help you?" she asked, not looking up from her computer. I stepped forward and placed the property deed and legal letter onto the counter. "Yes, you can. I'm Cole Holbrook. This is my land. I have documents confirming I'm the sole legal owner of the entire 52-acre parcel that this neighborhood sits on." That got her attention. She looked up, blinked at the paperwork, then let out a short, tight laugh. "I don't think so," she said in that condescending tone only people drunk on authority can manage. "This land was developed over 10 years ago. Everything was handled legally through the county." "No," I said, steady and calm. "It wasn't. I have the original title. Taxes were paid every year through a family trust. There's never been a sale. There's never been a transfer. This," I gestured outside, "is all illegal construction. You've built 60 homes on private property that was never yours to touch." Her face twisted slightly. She picked up the documents and gave them a cursory glance, clearly reading them but pretending not to. "This doesn't mean anything. You can't just walk in here and claim ownership. There are processes, legal channels." "Which I plan to go through," I said. "But I wanted to give you a professional courtesy before I start the process, because once this becomes public record, you and everyone else on that HOA board are going to be answering a lot of questions." Her jaw clenched. "You're not welcome here if you're going to stir up trouble. This community has worked hard to build something beautiful, and you're not going to ruin that just because you want money." I gave her a half smile. "You think this is about money?" She crossed her arms. "Isn't it always?" "No," I said quietly. "It's about principle. You paved over my family's legacy without asking. You built a fantasy on stolen land, and I don't think you realize yet just how much trouble you're in." I turned and walked out the door, her stunned silence following me like a shadow. Let the games begin.